All right, guys, we're gonna switch gears here a little bit. A lot of you guys have been asking me about the books that I read, so I thought I'd do a video explaining what kind of books I read and why I read them. These books have been monumental in my self-development. They have provided me with tons of wisdom. They've helped me so much in my life with understanding myself, understanding people, and understanding reality on such a deeper level. You know, we've been spiritual creatures since the beginning of time, creatures of worship. We just have kind of bleached ourselves with that recently in society, and we're fucking paying for it big time. Anyways, I want to just kind of get into the books that I read, why I love them so much, and maybe I can give you guys a little bit of a pathway to start getting into philosophy, and maybe you're just interested to see what I read, so let's get into it. We're going to start with Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. This is the first book that I read, really monumental on understanding suffering and understanding how to view suffering and how to perceive it. I mean, suffering is inevitable. We all feel it all the time. And, you know, this book is really fucking helpful for you. So I would suggest, if you guys are trying to get into philosophy, you don't know where to start, Man's Search for Meaning. It's pretty much a book about Viktor E. Frankl, who is a psychologist. I think he was in Poland. I've read this book like 2 years ago. Anyways, it was one of the Nazi internment camps, and he actually viewed the Holocaust from a psychological perspective rather than historical perspective. First half of the book, if I remember correctly, is him explaining what was happening in these internment camps, what was going on, the actual structures that were forming amongst the prisoners within the camp. Then he goes on to provide us with his theory of logotherapy, which explains how to perceive suffering and how people in the Holocaust, even though they were going through the most terrible times of their lives, some of them still managed to stay sane and find meaning in their lives. This is an incredible book. I highly recommend this. This is a 10 out of 10. Next, after that, we have The Big Five from Fyodor Dostoevsky. He's written a bunch of books, but I've read his Big Five. And if you guys don't know who Dostoevsky is, you've probably heard of Crime and Punishment. I think that's like a pretty common book that people know. You probably have read that in English class. I never read that. Everybody said they read it in English class. I don't know where the fuck I was. Dostoevsky's absolutely phenomenal. So these 5 books would be the equivalent of, if you're like a huge Harry Potter fan, huge Lord of the Rings fan, you know how monumental those series were in your life. This would be like the book version for me that I would say is like, I wish I could go back and reread them again, which I can and I might, but there's so much literature out there that I want to read. On a general note, what's really good about Dostoevsky is that their books written in Russia in the 1850s. It's a completely different time. How their society is completely different. They don't go out and have parties to like fucking, you know, go get drunk and pick up chicks and play video games. Their parties are, they drink together and the intellects come together and have a conversation. The most beautiful part about Dostoevsky's work is actually in the conversations between characters. So I didn't read these books in this order, but I'll suggest which order you should read them in. So first things first, I'd recommend Crime and Punishment. The major themes that you'll learn about is the guilty conscience. It's a lot about morality. I think it's a pretty compelling argument for why we need God and why we should believe in God. Next up, I'd recommend you read Notes from Underground. Now, this is a short novella. It's like 130 pages. This thing starts off kicking you in the fucking teeth right off the bat. There's some amazing ideas in this book, and I just really love it. It's also great because if you like Crime and Punishment, but you don't know for sure if you want to like continue with Dostoevsky, this is not a big commitment, and it's a phenomenal book. So I would really strongly recommend Notes from Underground next. This is probably going to be my most controversial opinion, and that is, I'd read The Idiot third. Now, The Idiot was actually, I'm not gonna lie, my least favorite book from the Big Five. I actually kind of had a hard time getting through it. It's an absolute beast of a novel. There's also times where I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Fyodor, let's get to the fucking point. And sometimes you feel like you have to really drag your feet through the book. I know this doesn't sound like a glowing endorsement, but what happens is there's one idea, and I'm not gonna spoil it to you. It's actually where Viktor E. Frankl got his idea for suffering and logotherapy. At least he borrowed it from this book. So there's a phenomenal, profound idea in here. Just when I read that part, I was like, oh my God, this became my favorite book. Fourth, I'd recommend Demons. Now, this thing is a brick. Demons actually kind of slipped into like my favorite of them. It was the last one that I read, but I'd recommend you read this second last. And I feel like this is a deeper cut version of Crime and Punishment. It's the same concepts, in my opinion. It's an amazing book, and it also has another bone-chilling end. I fucking really enjoyed Demons. It was also my last Dostoevsky book. You know, like the last series, the last episode, the final movie. Like you're just like, oh man, I don't want to see this end. That was this book. So this book has a very special place in my heart. I absolutely love it. I would recommend you read that fourth. And number 5 is the masterpiece of the series. This thing is fucking destroyed because I had to reread parts of this so many times. It's been to so many cafes. It's been, I think this came to Europe with me, to be honest. 1,042 pages. This thing's an absolute fucking monster, but this is also my favorite book of the whole series. It is my favorite book I've ever read in my life. I love it so much. There's one chapter called The Grand Inquisitor in this that like really changed the way I think about things. I thought it was just so profound, so phenomenal. If you guys don't want to read the book, I suggest just picking up this book, reading The Grand Inquisitor. Especially if you're religious, I think it's a fucking beautiful chapter. Jesus Christ, it makes me want to read it so badly. Anyways, I love this book. This is my favorite book of all time. I'd leave this one for last as the grand finale. Dostoevsky is my favorite, like he's written my favorite books. I love him so much and he has a special place in my heart. So please, if you're into reading, read Fyodor Dostoevsky. Next, what we have are kind of more the well-known philosophers. This book is called 5 Dialogues. It's 5 stories from Plato, and it's pretty much Socrates having a conversation, and every single story has a new profound idea. This book is one of my favorite books ever. I recently read The Symposium, which was great. It was in my opinion, nowhere near as good as this. So The Symposium is the book that I actually just finished today, funny enough. So this was a phenomenal book too. It's talking about love, beauty, and truth, which is amazing. But for some reason, 5 Dialogues just was fucking amazing. So after you read Viktor E. Frankl and after you read Dostoevsky, then what you do is you read Plato, 5 Dialogues, and the connections you'll make between Plato and Socrates and Dostoevsky are fucking amazing because they say very similar things in different ways. And it was really, really amazing to hear. Obviously, when you're talking about philosophy, philosophers just have a conversation throughout time. It's one philosopher says something, then the other one takes that and says something, and then someone takes it, and they're all just like kind of talking with each other and they're debating each other. So you will see a lot of connection. This book, I would strongly, strongly, strongly recommend. Next up, like we said, Symposium. I just finished this. Really good book, super easy read. It's like 50 pages. Besides all the notes, this thing, you can crush this. Really, really still a great book, but I did like 5 Dialogues more. Next up, we have Machiavelli, The Prince. This is a very, very popular book. I actually love this book, and I think, you know, when you hear about Machiavelli, you hear about the term Machiavellian, which is about manipulation and taking advantage of people and exploiting your power on people, which is some of what Machiavelli said in this book, but not all of it. Like, I feel like he's kind of mischaracterized, at least in a lot of the areas that he speaks, and like, I'm probably gonna get roasted for this. I felt like there were some things that I'm like, oh, that's totally where the term came from, Machiavellian. He talks about how to be a good prince and how to rule over your principality and how to win wars. It's pretty much like a strategy book and how to keep a civilization and society intact without it completely combusting under you and rebelling, absolutely eating you from the inside out or the outside in. So this book is a phenomenal book. I think this is a great business book. If you're in business, definitely read Machiavelli, The Prince. I love this book. I actually thought it was fucking amazing. And I was really expecting to read a book about the devil. There were some things, like I said, that are pretty fucking dark. But other than that, I thought he was phenomenal. I'm a big fan of Machiavelli's work. Next up, we have Orwell. We have Animal Farm, 1984. I actually read Orwell after Dostoevsky, so I was so shit-rocked by Dostoevsky. I think the next thing after Viktor E. Frankl is to read George Orwell because they're great fucking stories. Animal Farm was a little bit ruined for me because I kind of just knew what was gonna happen the whole time. Like, it was like pretty obvious, but like, that's what makes it so beautiful is that like, you know it because it's happening, right? So Animal Farm, I would read that maybe next. 1984 is a lovely book. I mean, if you've read it, you know it. It's phenomenal. Everybody loves 1984, and for good reason. It pretty much just brings awareness and understanding of totalitarianism, a dictatorship government, censorship, even communism, to be honest. So I really think that this is a phenomenal book. These books, exactly like Dostoevsky, are fictional books with great ideas inside of them, and they're fun as fuck to read. So I would read that after Viktor E. Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. Next up, we have Carl Jung. Now, Carl Jung is a psychoanalyst. He is the disciple of Freud. So if you guys are fans of Freud, obviously you've heard of Jung. The first book I read by him was Man and His Symbols. A fucking awesome book. I think this might be the last book that he wrote, but it was a great entry-level book. It talks a lot about the archetypes. It talks a lot about how spiritual we are. He talks about the ideas of stories and their importance. And it is a fucking great book because the psychoanalysts use symbols and stories a lot to understand reality. And in the beginning, you think like you watch Beauty and the Beast, you're like, oh, it's a great movie. And then you read these guys and you understand why those books and those stories have resonated throughout time, and they're absolute hits. So Man and His Symbols was an amazing book. I fucking love this. There was like one little bit that I was like kind of a little bit bored with, but 90% of it was fucking phenomenal. Next up, we have King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. Now, this is a book by Jungian scholars, so it's people that love Jung. Obviously, they study Jung. This is by Robert Moore and Douglas Gillett, and this is about rediscovering the masculine archetypes. This book, I would recommend every man read this. I think this is super important for understanding how you are as a person. If you know Carl Jung, he talks about the shadow a lot, and the shadow is the worst parts of you that you hate. Reading Jung and his scholars really helps you understand the shadow and accept the shadow, which is very important for people because people suffer with that a lot. They hate who they are, they just reject it and they repress it, and it comes out in terribly, terribly ugly ways. So when you read Jung, it really helps you with that. So I would suggest very strongly, if you're a man, you want to understand yourself a lot more, read this. If you're a woman and you want to understand your partner a lot more, or your brother or your dad a lot more, because it's tough being a dad, it's tough having a dad. I make jokes about dads all the time about kicking the shit out of them, and people love it because most people have pretty shitty relationships with their dad. Now, this will help you understand your dad a lot more. Okay, so those are pretty much the books that I've read. I've only started reading philosophy, I would say like 2 years ago I started. I mean, these books are hard to read too, especially when you're just getting into them. So they're not gonna just, you're not just like, I crushed Animal Farm in like a week, but you can do that. You can bang it out in a day if you're a good reader and you got a lot of time. But I try and read 10 to 20 pages every single day. It's been hard for me lately because the businesses are so aggressive right now, but every single morning, I think you guys have seen a lot in my reels. What I'll do is I'll wake up, I'll have my coffee, and I actually black out 1 hour every single morning for coffee and reading. I've been bad on that, like I said, because things have been busy, but I'm gonna back into that again real soon. I've been doing that for the past 2 years, and I can't even tell you how much it's helped me. So please just think of it as your education. You're not in school anymore. If you don't learn, you'll stop learning and you'll become an absolute fucking idiot. And I consider it work for me, to be honest. Like, reading is a part of my job. Philosophy and psychology has changed my life even more than the gym. And that's a big statement because the gym is how I make all my money. It's helped me so much in business, it's unfucking believable. Learning about philosophy, who would have thought? Because it's changed me as a person, obviously. I'm way more enlightened through reading these books. So if you're someone who like has been to the gym and you know how beneficial it is, start reading. You want to become a fucking absolute legend? Hey, fuck off, bird. Yeah, you, cunt. Kind of cute. Next up, we're gonna go on to the books that I'm going to read. I'm not gonna talk about these because I haven't read them, but I'm just gonna tell you what I'm planning on reading. So next up, I'm gonna read Anthem. I love fictional books that have very deep, profound meanings. As you guys can tell, I read some Orwell and I've read a bunch of Dostoevsky. My good buddy recommended me this. We decided that maybe we're gonna do some sci-fi stuff. So I'm really excited to read this book. Another sci-fi kind of style book is called Asimov Foundation. Yeah, that's gonna probably be the next fictional book that I read. After that, we have Nietzsche, Beyond Good and Evil. I actually started reading this. I was halfway through. Fucking amazing, but it was just kicking my ass so hard. I was like, I just don't think I'm ready for Nietzsche yet. I think I have to read Nietzsche's scholars first before I just start getting into him, because if you know who Nietzsche is, like, fuck off. He's just like the best, he's the GOAT. So Beyond Good and Evil kicked the shit out of me. I put it down, but I'm going to read this again maybe in a year. Next we have Civilization and Its Discontents, Sigmund Freud. I love Jung. I love Freud's ideas, so I'm gonna read some Freud as well. So I definitely am excited for that. The Birth of Tragedy, another book to kick the shit out of me. Nietzsche. Modern Man in Search of a Soul. This is another Jung book. Obviously, big fan of Jung, as you guys know. So that's what we kind of have on the docket. We have some Nietzsche, some Freud, some Jung, and then we have a couple sci-fi books. What I'm really trying to do here, hopefully, to show you guys a different side of me, number one. Number two is to help you kind of understand who I am and how I got to where I am. You know, like I said, reading is such a huge part of my life and it's changed me so much as a person. The thing about reading these books is once you're enlightened, you can't go back. It's just impossible. Like, if you read something that Socrates says that really, really changes your life, you can't do something that you're like, oh, well, I'll just ignore what I learned. It's never gonna happen. You'll always be eaten alive by it. So even if you forget certain ideas, it changes your DNA. This is a big part of me that you guys don't really know, and it's one of my favorite parts of me. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys learned something. Good luck with your reading journeys, and I'm gonna continue mine, and cheers, guys. Love you. Tell your mom I say hi, by the way. The one thing about these philosophers, they didn't have a fucking nasty lad spread.